south, down to Echuca, following the old stock route. There's acres of rice, keeping all the country green. Yeah, no better place in Australia you've ever seen. Down in the Riverina, down in the Riverina. Well, it's God's own country, you hear that all the time when you're down in the Riverina. Well, there's Waka Waka Finley, Hand and Eloquent. But if you're down that way, hey, don't forget Berrigan. Truckies going by will always move to one side. Yeah, and watch those roos, or you'll take one for a ride. Down in the Riverina.
Yet together they were friends at school.
And we're all fucking stoned.
Except we've got to sing a song, Campbell. Just hang on there. How crazy is this? How did this even happen? Like, I'm not even going to start yet on all the amazing stories that I've heard. I'm not going to start yet on all the extreme locations you've travelled in from.
26 extracts in the Bible about God not respecting persons. James 2:9 makes it very clear it is a sin to respect persons. Romans 2:11, for there is no respect of persons.
So we just got back from the Tartaria event, the Jolly Swagman tour, and it was brilliant. And I mean, there were a lot of takeaways from that, but it was a good fucking community event. And I'll put a couple of clips up here, but like Cindy Roberts came down, she'd been up in Darwin, and I'll share a couple of the clips here. But this is what I wanted to talk about, because it's just so synchronistic with everything I've been looking at. And I guess the reason why I started going back into like Joseph Campbell and Emmanuel Velikovsky and stuff lately, and when she talks about Uluru, what I got when I went to Uluru, and I did a video on this ages ago. I'll maybe try and find a clip. So, absolutely epic. Now, the reason I'm filming from here, just watching the sun go down, I'll show you. So, I'm just putting a disclaimer at this video that I'm going to upload, and I'm just going to have a seat over here. Reason for doing that, it was just a code breaker for me. It was just, it was unbelievable. There you guys, look at that, absolute magic sunset. I'll flip around. Been chilling here watching the sunset. Just give you a flip around, then I'll have a couple of words. It's just absolute magic. God, right? So I just want people to take this information in with just approach it with a blank piece of paper and listen to the information. Don't get triggered. It's very triggering for Christians. It's even more triggering for New Age people, particularly New Age people that have jumped over from organized religion into the New Age, because it's like, it's a second crush. And it was amazing thing that I had to go to. I was very aware of the God matrix at that point, but it's something that you got to feel into, and when you know this core truth, everything changes. And if we're really fighting for sovereignty, this is true sovereignty, right? People heard me say before that I saw someone have a complete cognitive dissonance meltdown of programming. And it was basically that everything she'd been taught within the New Age structure was the same. It was the same as a religious dogma that she'd pulled away from 30 years ago. And this is crushing for people, particularly with religious dogma that people have given their whole lives over. And it really comes down to one basic thing. You are either a created being or you're infinite. It's that simple. I got there and I got this message that it was, my heart was out of rhythm or out of beat. And I mean that in a spiritual or energetic sense. I don't mean literal, but I got that when I was there. It was like, my heart is yours. Do you know what I mean? And I know people say it's the solar plexus chakra of the earth. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the story Cindy told, and what she told me last year, and I put it on a TikTok video, and actually it got like probably the most views I've got off any video. And she shared the picture of the woman on one side, and do you know what? After I fucking heard her talk about it, and I've seen that image so many times, but I didn't see the picture. I didn't see it properly, because she said that the woman's kissing the rock, and I saw the man clearly, which everyone does. And what she said, that's the balance of life.
Uluru, and we all laid our hands upon that rock together, because there's more to that rock than a lot of people throughout even know. And it's what's in the rock that is more powerful. So imagine if all of us as brothers and sisters, we had a big journey to the centre of Australia, to the very heart, the creator of all, the very heart of all the tribes of the world, of where creation began in this continent, in this nation. This is where it all started. It didn't start in Africa. It didn't start in India. It didn't start wherever in America or anywhere. It began here, Australia. That's why our country is so sacred. That's why they came with a militant force to wipe us out, because they were looking for this tribe. They were looking for this people that held this law, because they were the law keepers for all the tribes of the world. And they had to silence them to introduce you to their new way to control and to slave the people through Christianity, the Bible. So they had to get rid of the law keepers, the ones that held the law. You know, that was Creator's law, universal law, the law of the masters, you know. So a lot of people call them the ascending, you know. But that's why they came. If you want to know the true history about your country, they were searching for this tribe that had this, they knew about us. There's a symbol that, you know, I think it's in Turkey or one of the symbolic. And I was talking to someone about it, and there's a certain symbol that is on the carvings in one of these countries. Now, if anybody knew the truth of what that symbol is, if you were connected to Creator and Spirit, you would know what that symbol means.
What is it? In Turkey.
There's a carving on, and it's specifically of our ancestors, you know, on the rocks and everything over there. And there's one symbol that they've got marked, and I asked the Creator, and as soon as I seen it, I knew what it was, because, yeah, when you're connected, you know.
So is Uluru, is this the original Holy Grail? Is that the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
What's in there?
Yeah.
Because, so Cindy was sharing with me the other day, people might know this, but the face of the woman on one side of the rock, and the I saw the male face, but
never. Yeah.
the woman. And then once you showed me, I went, oh, because if that is the center, not only everything's compressed, and that is the center of the universe, and we've got the perfect representation about the unity of what we've been talking about, the whole thing.
Bring the balance back.
In the center, right?
Then you see the water that runs through their hair. Because women, because we're womb, because of who we are, water law, you know? The water belongs to the women, it belongs to Mother. And that's Mother Creator there, and that's Father Creator. And that's the art of Creator of all. That's the Great Spirit. That's the heart of the tribes. And it's sitting right in this nation. So why would we want to protect this country? Creator, my ancestors spoke to me and said this: the reason why the ancestors are sleeping is because nobody calls out. Nobody dances anymore. Yeah. Nobody calls out to them anymore to sing the land up. Our ancestors they were only resting because no one was calling them up anymore. Yeah. No one was singing them up. No one was bringing the land back to life. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, we come from the land. Nobody owns the land, Dale. Everything belongs to the Creator and to Mother. We belong to the land. You know, that's our DNA. You, me, all creation. And you know what? When we get caught up in a constitution or anything like this, and in these corporations, it disconnects you from who you are. You know, your very being, your very existence, you know, of who we are as spiritual beings, belonging unto Creator, belonging unto the land, belonging unto Mother, belonging unto our ancestors. These corporate globalists want to disconnect us from spirit.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it's about.
That's it.
That's it. Oh, Cindy, it's so. Do you know what that was beautifully said, because what's the land grab about? It's not about opening the land to the people. It's about cutting it off because the people are evil and we need to be in the city. And then we're not connected to the land. We're not connected to spirit. We're not connected to law. That's what it's about. That's the real genesis of what it's about.
Do you know what they've done for so long? The reason why they destroy our cultural heritage sites, the reason why they destroy everything about who we are, because if we've got no country, if we've got no song, if we've got no dance, if we've got no sacred sites, then who are we?
Yeah.
Who do we become? If they can take away everything of who we are as a people, as the original tribal people of this continent, if they can take everything away from us, it will kill us. They know this because that's who we are as a people. So if they can take all these things away from us, the very core, the very essence of who we are as a spiritual people, we are, of this continent, tribal people, who we are, who we are of this continent. If they can take away the very essence of our being, of our life, of our connection to country, and what connects us to country, all of these, they come together. All these elements are a part of it. Our song, our dances, our connection, especially because it's in our DNA. If they can break all this, if they can break all these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is the center point of creation. And this is exactly what Joseph Campbell speaks, the man who gave us the hero's journey blueprint.
He says, I saw myself on the central mountain of the world, the highest place. And I had a vision because I was seeing in a sacred manner of the world. And it comes to one great statement, which for me is a key statement to the understanding of myth and symbols. He says, I saw myself on the central mountain of the world, the highest place. And I had a vision because I was seeing in a sacred manner of the world. And the sacred central mountain was Harney Peak in South Dakota. And then he says, but the central mountain is everywhere. That is a real mythological realization. Center of the world. The center of the world is the hub of the universe, axis mundi, the central point, pole star around which all revolves. The central point of the world is the point where stillness and movement are together. Movement is time, stillness is eternity, realizing the relationship of the temporal moment to the eternal, not moment, but forever, is the sense of life.
With 17 stages cycle, which is a completion, which is like 17 being the number of the flip, but it's like the number of coming home. And I almost see, well, if you're looking, this is going to tie into like the stuff happening with Desi. We can easily observe, and especially those of us that have been into, I guess, this world consciously for, decades, to now see what is clearly a human awakening taking place. It is undeniable. And I know there's like infighting and all this kind of stuff, and there's disputes and there's different groups that have got different agendas, and that it doesn't matter. It's all a feeling out process of the awakening. And we all remember, like I remember when the lid came off my head, and I mean, my awakening for me has been, I mentioned it many times, it started when I was a little kid and being told that I was going to go to heaven. That was the big thing. And what I was doing at night, I was contemplating my own infinity, and it was this huge block, and it would actually terrify me. And being obsessed with the hero story, obsessed with the martyr that was created through Jesus, which isn't really what the Christ is about. But those were the big questions when I was young. And then also when I used to astral project, and it was actually the movie The Boy Who Could Fly that gave me the belief that I could fly. And I remember seeing that movie, and I remember thinking, well, that's possible. And that's how I would astral project. It would be a thought form. There's the only way I can explain it. It's not a thought form, but that's kind of how I felt as a kid. And I would just leave my body at will. And I'm not talking about when I'm asleep. I'm talking about like in the middle of the day. But it was all based on my belief system. And then after that, it was really a slow progression for the rest of my life, that nothing really, I mean, I did have aha moments, but nothing was ever like, oh, there's no way I can believe that. It was like, everything was like, okay. I think the next big one was like 9/11. Then reading Kathy O'Brien's book was a big one. And then it's just been slow progression ever since. But it's undeniable there's an awakening taking place when you've been through all that, and you know that like you couldn't discuss these topics or anything with people years ago. And now it's just common knowledge. And I think, this Desi thing is actually a big marker, that and like these rallies that are taking place, and obviously they're being manipulated by dark occult and intelligence agencies and stuff like that, as both sides are, and that's fine. Again, it's a feeling out process, but you got to look at the trajectory that we're on. And I remember like reading David Wilcock's book, The Source Field Investigations, and he'd talk about complex systems, and that they couldn't even run computer model. There's no computer model in the world that can predict this chaos theory of what grain of sand would cause the avalanche. In a hypothetical avalanche of everything, all us human beings are in a complex system. And if you look at that as every single human being is a grain of sand, there is something that is the tipping point. If you put that in a complex system, there is one grain of sand that causes the avalanche. And they don't know, through all different computer modeling and putting that through experimentation, they can never predict what that grain of sand is going to be. That's the chaos. You don't know. So we really don't know what it's going to be. And that's the part of chaos theory tells you that there's something divine there. There is not. It's not something that can be replicated with science all the time. There's a spark that is outside of it, that this is what causes it. And obviously it's a whole collective thing. But so people are at different points of understanding themselves and understanding the world. But going back to Cindy, what it is when I'm saying that it's undeniable that there's a human awakening taking place. And this is why I think everyone should understand the holographic universe and reality compressions and what the human being really is. And this is why it's been fundamental to everything that I talk about, is understanding what the human being is. And you can look at it in a left brain way through the hologram, and understanding that a hologram, everything's a smaller part of the whole. But then when you actually look at it, when you change that into reality compressions and what the human being is, and the human being contains the entire universe within, this is the true power. And that awakening that's happening within us, which we can clearly see that is present now through our own observation of seeing how things are changing, and truth becomes more present. And the more moral a society, the more freedom you'll have. And I was talking about this with a couple of people when we were at this event, and I said, well, it will be determined. You will know if we're on the path to freedom as morality is starting to come back. And I think we hit like a point. They talked about this peak woke, what this peak woke was, and that's all the transgender stuff and all that kind of everything, really. Just like the debauchery and the destruction of art and music, and even things like I talk about AFL, like that is part of human expression that has, that is going further and further down. And that's why I even spoke about Hawthorn last year. I felt like there was a bit of a flip within the AFL of players being able to express themselves again. It's never going to look the same as it was, but there's markers to show that we are on the trajectory up.
Anybody, and crowds and that, until I've been to country, so I can call out to my ancestors, and so I can walk on my country again and do what is right. But I just want to say hello to everyone, and hopefully early hours in the morning I can get to the water and I can share a bit more. But I will have just say a couple of things if you want me to have a yarn with you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the Creator will allow me to have a little bit of I can say sorry tomorrow. But I just wanted to have Look, I've been on a journey, but before I do, I just want to have a little prayer, right? Yeah. So Garama Nutangale Najangale, Nai Bet Nevangari, Kelly, Cameron, and all our Baris here that have travelled from afar. We just want to call upon you, our great Creator, and all our ancestors of creation, far, near and far, that you are with us all, always in spirit. Teach us every day, to listen, and to listen to the land, to listen to creation, and just help us every day to hear more of who we are in spirit and less of man and flesh. But I thank you for this time, and I just want to say thank you and permit me to be on country again and to speak to the people. Forgive me if I've broken the law, but I just want to say thank you and permit me. And bakarama bugube. Thank you, Creator. Nutangale najangale. Karama bugube, everyone.
You're always here forever.
So, and looking at that, so like I even mentioned something like Roe v. Wade, that regardless of what people think of abortion, it's a moral question. And the fact that that was overturned and that a lot of people agreed with that shows that we are on the path, regardless of where we are on that path, that we are on a path of morality returning. And if morality returns, so does freedom. So going back to what Cindy said about the balance of life and the mother and the father.
And it became a patriarchal society and a patriarchal, the patriarchal world. And mother became so oppressed, they took it away because of the gifts that the women held they were afraid of it. Because women have gifts that men do not have. And women can foresee stuff that, the men can't. Men have different gifts from the women. So I want to tell you a story of when I got two stories to tell. The first is, this is who she is. So while I was at Murajulu, after I prayed, it rained. The rain didn't come just like that. That night after I prayed at the rock, when we went back into Murajulu, it was my sister that turned around and she said, "Sis, we've had no rain." And I said, "All you have to do is ask." And she turned around and she said, "Well, do you want to pray?" And I said, "Do you want rain?" She said, "Yes, we need rain. We haven't had any rain." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll pray with you, but you have to ask." We turned around and we prayed that night, and I went to lay down in the back of my ute out in the open because I don't sleep. I didn't sleep in houses. And I went and laid down, and next minute, drop. It poured all that night. I had to get out of the back of the ute and jump on the veranda with my sister. She turned around and she said, "You made it rain." I said, "No, you asked them." I said, "That's all you have to do is ask when you believe in the Spirit, Anyways, so that next day, while it was pouring, I went back to the rock. I had a spiritual encounter with a woman, a spirit being. She was a woman that appeared before me, and I was afraid. I never seen anything like it. She turned around and she told me, "Don't be afraid." But then she turned around, and before she was in spirit form, she brought me to a place. The place was right in front of that. That there, my friends, is Mother Creator kissing the art of the Creator of all creation. When she showed me that, I went and grabbed the women, and I turned around and I said, "Do you see her?" And they said, "See what?" And I said, "You have the stories here of Mother Creator. What's happened to the stories?" They said, "We only talk about the men's stories. Now we've lost the women's stories." When I showed the women Mother Creator, they all broke down and cried. It took a Widjabul Bunjalung woman to go all the way to Murajulu to tell them that Mother was still there. Before I left, Creator Spirit said to me, you're not to leave. You've seen Mother, but now you're about to see Father. On the other side of Uluru is Father Creator. These are not man-made, these are Creator-made. How is it that you got a woman on one side and a man on the other? When Father Creator spoke to me and said, bring back the balance, I knew what it was about. And that's a balance of life. That we have the great Creator Spirit. Now, I just want to say this to you. I don't know what any of your beliefs are or anything, but we all need to respect one another of each other's beliefs no matter what. But the great Creator Spirit is spirit, no gender. It's nor female, nor male, nor female, the great Creator Spirit. Under the great Creator Spirit is Mother and Father Creator. And under them is all our ancestors. They are the mother and father of all creation. And that is in our culture, but it belongs to everybody. And it's for the world to know. And that's why I wanted to share with you tonight of my spiritual journey and my spiritual encounter with Mother and with Father. So the reason why her hair is because it's water law. Water law belongs to the women. Fire law. So you call it Nyabe. Nyabe, Buttering belongs to the women. Fire law, Weber Buttering belongs to the men. That is why the balance of life of fire and water plays an important role, in the elements of life and of creation. Everything comes from Mother. So that's my story of my journey in Mutijulu, and I really, really wanted to share with you tonight. I really hope that did you see Mother? Could you see her? And Father, you couldn't miss him. And you know that many people travelled around that rock so many times and did not see her. They forgot about her. And she turned around and showed herself in spirit form before she told me to look up, and I started crying. Because I couldn't see her too so I made sure that I took photos that I would never forget what happened. I have seen so many things on my life journey. I always say to Creator, am I done yet? Are you done yet with me? But I'm still here. I've died 3 times. And I'm still here.
If you listen to Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell speaks about this in his book, Hero of a Thousand Faces, and it's one of the early chapters. And this goes into the shrine and everything. And he speaks about this Dakota Indian, I think it's Dakota, and he speaks about this Mount Peak, in which they have their local creation story, because in tribal times, every tribe would have their creation story, and they will have a key tree or some sort of landmark within that will represent this is where creation began. I know, like, even Judge Arung around Bendigo, they speak, well, it's actually not part of the creation story, but what is like sacred to them is like Mount Tarangara and Mount Franklin. But they have the thing that is called the World Navel, or where creation began. And this goes into the spiral too, where the spiral is at its very 0 point, it is stillness, right? At the very dot of the spiral. But then you have the expansion, just like the hero's journey.
Powerful religious symbol is the circle. He says, the circle is one of the great primordial images of mankind, that in considering the symbol of the circle, we are analyzing the self. And I find you in your own work throughout the course of your life coming across the circle, whether it's in the magical designs the world over, whether it's in the architecture, both ancient and modern, whether it's in the dome-shaped temples of India, or the calendar stones of the Aztecs, or the ancient Chinese bronze shields, or the visions of the Old Testament prophet Ezekiel, whom you talk about, the wheel in the sky. you keep coming across this image.
Yeah, it's an ever-present thing. It's the center from which you've come, back to which you go. I remember reading in a book about the American Indians called The Indian Book by Natalie Curtis. It was published around 1904. Her conversation with a chief. I think he was a chief of the Pawnee tribe. And among the things he said was, when we pitch camp, we pitch a camp in a circle. When we look at the horizon is in a circle. When the eagle builds a nest, the nest is in a circle. And then you read in Plato somewhere, the soul is a circle. I suppose the circle represents a totality. Within the circle is one thing. It is encircled, it's enframed. That would be the spatial aspect. But the temporal aspect of the circle is you leave, go somewhere, and come back. The Alpha and Omega. God is the Alpha and Omega, the source and the end. Somehow the circle suggests immediately an completed totality, whether in time or in space.
No beginning, no end.
Well, round and round and round. The year. Well, this is November again, you know, and we're about to have Thanksgiving again. We're about to have Christmas again. And then not only the year, but the month, the moon cycle, and the day, the cycle. And this is, we're reminded of this when we look on our watch and see the cycle of time. It's the same hour, but another day, and all that sort of thing.
Why do you suppose the circle became so universally symbolic?
Well, because it's experienced all the time. Experience it in the day and the year, just as we've said, and you experience it in leaving home, going on your adventure, hunting, or whatever it may be, and coming back to home. And then there's a deeper one also, that mystery of the womb and the tomb. When people are buried, it's for rebirth. I mean, that's the origin of the burial idea. You're put back into the womb of Mother Earth for rebirth.
That stillness is movement. So it's stillness and movement at the same time. It's everything but nothing, just like Ebden Alexander explained what he called the dazzling darkness, the place that we come from. So it's everything but nothing. And it's like in the Never-Ending Story when it goes to that last grain of sand and the union of the two come together. The boy named Bastian, who is the creator, and the goddess, the young girl, and they put their hands together. That shows the unity. This is what I spoke so many times about in these movies, where they will kiss at the end of the movie. Like in Groundhog Day, he's in this repetitive cycle, and then what comes down is he's gone through all the different layers of his own subconscious and everything that was repeating this cycle, and eventually comes down to the unity of love between a man and a woman. And that's everything. It's not just a man and woman, but those two polarities within the universe coming together as one to the center point of all creation, which is Joseph Campbell's The World Navel.
But Joe, can Westerners grasp this kind of mystical, trans-theological experience? It does transcend theology. It leaves theology behind. I mean, if you're locked to the image of God in a culture where science determines your perceptions of reality, how can you experience this ultimate ground that the shamans talk about?
The best example I know in our literature is that beautiful book by John Neihart called Black Elk Speaks.
Black Elk was
a young Sioux, or Dakota as it's also called, boy around 9 years old, before the American cavalry had encountered the Sioux. They were the great people of the plains. And this boy became sick. His psychologically sick, his family. I'm telling the typical shaman story. The child begins to tremble and is immobilized, and the family is terribly concerned about it. And they send for a shaman who had had the experience in his own youth, to come as a psychoanalyst, you might say, and pull the youngster out of him. But instead of relieving him of the deities, he is adapting him to the deities and the deities to himself, you might say. It's a different problem from that of psychoanalysis, where you remember, I think it was Nietzsche who said, "Be careful lest in casting out your devil, you cast out the best thing that's in you." Here, the deities who have been encountered, the powers, let's call them, are retained. The connection is retained, it's not broken. And these men then become the spiritual advisors and gift givers of their people. Well, what happened with this young boy, he was about 9 years old, was he had a vision, and the vision is described, and it's a vision prophetic of the terrible future that his tribe was to have. But it also spoke of the possible positive aspects of it. It was a vision of what he called the hoop of his nation, realizing that it was one of many hoops, which is something that we haven't all learned well enough yet. And the cooperation of all the hoops of all the nations in grand processions and so forth. But more than that, it was an experience of himself as going through the realms of spiritual imagery that were of his culture and assimilating their import. And it comes to one great statement, which for me is a key statement to the understanding of myth and symbols. He says, "I saw myself on the central mountain of the world, the highest place. And I had a vision because I was seeing in a sacred manner of the world. And the sacred central mountain was Harney Peak in South Dakota." And then he says, "But the central mountain is everywhere." That is a real mythological realization.
Why?
It distinguishes between the local cult image, Harney Peak, and its connotation, the center of the world. The center of the world is the hub of the universe, axis mundi, you know, the central point, pole star around which all revolves. The central point of the world is the point where stillness and movement are together. Movement is time, stillness is eternity, realizing the relationship of the temporal moment to the eternal, not moment, but forever, is the sense of life. Realizing how this moment in your life is actually a moment of eternity, and the experience of the eternal aspect of what you're doing in the temporal experience is the mythological experience, and he had it. So is the central mountain of the world Jerusalem, Rome, Benares, Lhasa, Mexico City, you know? Mexico City, Jerusalem is symbolic of a spiritual principle as the center of the world.
Hero's journey, this is the point where the hero goes all the way back. So they have the point of starting at home, and the hero does his dissension, separation, and initiation, separation, and then the return, and they come all the way back home. It's the same as a spiral. You have the 0 point, stillness, and you have movement. This is a shrine as well. So clearly, this is what Uluru is. And if you're looking within a hologram, every tribe will have their place to say this is where creation started. And it's not to say that isn't the center point of all creation, but then if you go into a hologram, just like the human being has gone further into a fractal, so we have the 0 point here. So this is a 0 point of the entire universe within the hologram, within you, because you are the universe. You are a walking universe. Every single one of us is. You are not just you are fractal of the creator of this universe, but then you exist as your own universe as well too. So when we build these shrines and monuments over these center points or portal spaces, which are crossing ley lines, that they're building a world navel on that point, that is the beginning place, the beginning and the end of creation.
The center of the world. The center of the world is the hub of the universe, axis mundi, you know, the central point, pole star around which all revolves. The central point of the world is the point where stillness and movement are together.
Cut out there. Yeah, so that is the beginning and end of creation in that place. So the shrine is a perfect example of this. And you have, like, even within the shrine, you have this, like the sun element coming in, hitting the woman, the womb, the black cube on the bottom, which is the matrix itself, this grounding of that energy. But it's actually, what is the shrine? The whole point of the shrine is the merging of the sun and the womb of the woman. It's the exact same thing. So the shrine is just like Uluru. And what Joseph Campbell says is, he said that what it is the world navel is everywhere. He said it's omnipresent. And I love how he explains it, because what it is, of course, if you understand the hologram, it is everywhere. It's within everything. But it tells you the most important thing is a human being. So my point is, if there is awakening happening within the human being, then so is the awakening happening with the planet, because within a hologram, everything is symbiotic. Everything is a representation of something else. And then Uluru itself, if you gather up all the world navels across the world, there has to be a central point that all the world navels become one world navel. And I'm with Cindy that I think this is Uluru. And this is the fact that even she says that, because she's not from that tribe. And I don't know if this causes rifts within the Aboriginal community and stuff, like nationwide and stuff like that, or different nations, her saying that. But I feel it's fucking true. It's fucking true. And it's like Credo Mutwa. He was the Zulu shaman, and he used to share a lot of the secrets of the Zulu nation and stuff. And he said that they were basically a secret society. You know, the initiation of his tribe, and to go up the levels within his tribe to become an elder, was you had to go through like extreme rituals in the tribe. He said, like, really, really horrific rituals that they would go through. And a lot of that, and this is how secret societies formed, that they would do this process to keep the knowledge away from like colonizers or the dark occult, whoever it was that eventually wanted to take this information and use it. And this was done to the Indigenous in Australia, obviously. And this is why they developed their initiation processes and ritual. But he said that, and I mean, he's dead now. He died right at the start of COVID, actually. And what he said was that this information needed to be shared with the world now.
Awaken the mother mind within every one of you human beings. Our people believe that every human being, male or female, has got two minds. The mother mind and the warrior mind. The warrior mind looks at things logically. The warrior mind says 2 + 2 is 4. But the mother mind says nothing of that kind. The mother mind, I don't know how I can explain. The mother mind does not think in a line way as warriors do. The mother mind thinks sideways, and upwards and downwards. We must awaken the mother mind within us. We must feel what is going on in the world. We mustn't just listen to newspapers. We must ourselves feel. It is said by the Zulu people that women think with their pelvic area where children grow and are born. We must think that way. I must no longer look at a tree, but I must see a living entity like me in that thing. I must no longer look at a stone, but I must see the future lying dormant in that stone. What minerals are there? We must think like grandmothers. That's all.
This is not a time for even tribes keeping their story. And like, I mean, I learned so much from different stories from different cultures, and what they are to me is because, and I don't look at anything as more superior than the other. But anyway, so it was beautiful listening to Cindy. I'll put the clip up here. and just feel it with your heart. Actually, like listen to what she's saying.
Yeah, so, but my brother here, and he's here tonight. He's got his own story to tell, but if you want to know a bit about him, he is a descendant. Yeah, he brought me here. I travelled down. I flew down from Darwin because I was up there tormenting them up in the Northern Territory. And yeah, and I'm back home on country, and it's great to be home, you know. And this is home for all of us, you know, because there's a lot going on in the world. But I heard Kelly talk about earlier part. She spoke about spirit, and I heard her mention, you know, who we are. You know, why was you born? Why do you exist? You know, and this is why everybody, they're soul searching, but you don't have to go too far. Once you connect to the land, and you can, you know, you have that quiet time with spirit, you know, if you can come back to mother, in my language, you know, you have father and you have mother. And, you know, like, it's so much I can tell you, but I want to save it because there's so much. But you got Warrell and you got Mamon, and, you know, and at the end of the day, we are all family. And there's so much going on in the world, but just ground yourself. When the world is chaos and it's chaotic around you, ground yourself. I got to deal with the chaos every day as a black woman in this country, you know, and the political. But I come back every time I go into that, you know, that boxing ring with government. I never forget who I am. I never forget that I serve the Creator. I never forget that I serve my ancestors. I never forget why I was born. I never forget the reason why I exist. I have a calling upon my life like each and every one of you, and you have to find your destiny. You know, why you exist. A lot of people are lost in this world, but don't. You know, ground yourself. You women, you men, get to the water, talk to the water. Let the water heal you. Let the land ground you. Because it's all about us and our connection to country. You know, our connection from the sky to the land, to the waters, to the seas. Our connection to nature. You know, all of this we've been deprived of it. It's been stripped from us. But we have an opportunity. Look where we are. You know, you're away from the world. You're on Bunjalang Jugan, you know. I say the best country in the whole of this continent, to be honest. But you know, welcome to Bunjalang Jugan on Walabo Jugan. You know, this is my country, this is my family, this is my home. You know, and I just want to say Garama Bugabear to everyone, but I got so many stories to tell you, Mob, but firstly I have to do my job with the Creator and with my ancestors on country. And if you don't know the story of Walabo are the mountains, they hold the law here. So if you don't know about Walabo country, this is where I come when I need to hear from all my ancestors for the law. Because that's what Walabo is. This is where the law keepers are. So I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, and we'll have a yarn later.
Thank you.
Yeah, you could feel the energy in there, in that place where we were, and it's beautiful. It's down by a little creek, and it's like we had the fire going, and it was just beautiful to be in that spot and share it with those people. And I could just feel within me and everyone else, and everyone's real quiet when Cindy listens, just because she just she demands listening when you hear her. Just the power that comes through her voice. It's like the earth itself is talking. That's how I feel it. It's like, you know, like how uninspired you may be, like go and listen to a Christian preacher or like other like so-called gurus or whatever, but to like listen to someone who's like really connected with the land in her, on her land. It's like listening to the land talk itself. Like I don't want to sound like too much of a fucking idiot, but like, you know what I'm saying. And it's absolutely present when she speaks. So the other one, we had a chat with Jeff Harmon, who's this astrologer from America. So he just came on our conference yesterday. And we did a thing called interrogation astrology. And basically what he does is like, there's different versions of this that it's been done over time. Like I mentioned Krati Mutwa before, where he would, it's kind of like the tarot, but they would use the stars in the way that he would do it. And they call it throwing the bones, in which they would throw the bones down at a certain time. And then they could look at the location of the stars and stuff at the time that question was asked. And then they'd be able to interpret an answer from that question. But in modern times, obviously, we've got computers, and this is kind of like the benefit and the beauty of the duality of technology. That Jeff has this program, he enters in all the information. We were talking to him about Desi, and you put in a question, and through the interrogation, based on the location of the person that is asking the question, I think Jeff might have even done it from himself, where he was located. But anyway, it's like the location of the person that's asking the question and the alignment of the planets and whatever it may be at that time, to, I guess, someone that's a skilled astrologer who is able to interpret a lot of information off that, because you have a freeze frame of the time that question was asked, and it's entered into the computer, and then it'll put up all the graphics and you can interpret the astrology. So he did this. We asked him about Desi, and Jeff said he'd read a couple of stories online, but he really didn't know much about it. It's not a big story in America. First thing he said, he's like, he goes, this man's not dead. He's on the run. And people can take with this what they will, but he said he's not dead, he's on the run. He said he's being helped by someone, most likely a woman. Now, Jeff didn't even know he was in the mountain regions, and he goes, I get the feeling he's off in the mountains, and I get the feeling he's southwest of where they think he is, or from the location of the property. And he's also, so we asked him, will he come out alive? And he said that he did see at the start there could be a possible surrender, but he said he was very, very adamant that he said he's going to go down fighting, and it's either going to end in it, and whether officially or this actually happens, the story is he's going to end in a suicide, or it's going to end with a shootout with police. And it's like so tied into this Ned Kelly story. And I was looking into the Ned Kelly one, whether anyone was actually harboring him, and technically there wasn't, but Ned's mother and other women were charged after for aiding and abetting him. And I can see now with the news stories that are coming out that they're saying, you know, that there's people are harboring him. They believe their intelligence. It's like, how do you have fucking intelligence that anyone's harboring him? And unless you directly know, right? Or the story's kind of pre-written. So I've kind of changed my mindset around this at the start. Jeff actually did pick up, he said, I think he might be in the military. And obviously, like, there's people we know that know him, and they said, no, he's not in the military. But that kind of would make sense, right? If he's a military cutout, and what a cutout is, like I've mentioned before, like Cody Snodgrass was he was like a CIA cutout, which is like military or like military intelligence that's actually working for the military but not officially on the books. And then we got the military aspect of the military have came in, and I just think there's so many different things they're going to try and tick off with this one. I think it's massive, actually. So anyway, Jeff said that, and that was the only kind of thing that was a bit off about what he said, but it actually would make sense if this guy actually is military cutout. So anyway, it just very much is fitting the theme of Ned Kelly, and Ned Kelly has basically been a martyr in Australia for 150 years, even though supposedly he was an outlaw and a criminal. But there's this other aspect to Ned Kelly's story, and I think they're actually kind of using that energy to make Desi into a martyr of things that are coming down the line. Because Jeff also spoke about Pluto crossing, Pluto crossing the midheaven. Now, I don't even fucking know how to interpret this sort of shit, but he's basically saying this was a key date that's coming up, and it's January the 10th this year. And he said, I see a lot of uprising and rebellion, and it's to do with the power struggles with the government. So again, he was also talking about like John Dee, that was the Queen Elizabeth's court astrologer, and like David Wilcock actually speaks a lot about John Dee, how he basically brought back a certain form of technology that was black magic that the royals were using. And this is why I actually don't think that the royals aren't actually the bloodlines that people think, because if that was the case, they would have held that technology the whole time, right? But that's a whole different other story, and like why they killed the Romanovs and all that kind of thing. But so anyway, these groupings that are running the show have a deep knowledge of astrology, and they would know this for Australia. And he said, so Australia's a very young nation, so this has never actually come up in the history of, the official nation and creation of the country of Australia. And then people don't get onto me, Australia's not a fucking, yeah, I know all that stuff. We actually had Taza come to Kelly and Campbell sing, and they were fucking unbelievable. Actually, I'll leave a link in here for them. So they're hang on, I've actually got their weight. I've got their cards here. So, oh shit, sorry, that way. So it's a Terra Australis State Assembly. And I mean, these guys gave fucking one of the best presentations. I bought their book too. I haven't got it here. I'll show it later. But, and I'd love to get them on Scott Earth, or even just a public chat would be really cool. So, yeah, they're definitely using that with Desi. And I don't think it's just that. I think, like I said before, with the chaos theory, and that there's no computer model that can predict what individual or singular node within that complex system is actually going to be the point that is going to cause the avalanche. And when the avalanche actually does happen, then you're in mass collapse. And then what happens is then it comes down and the sand actually forms what they call a higher complex system. So in other words, we have a crash and fall. And this is a part of the hero's journey where there's a final conflict. So there's a mass crash and fall, a death and rebirth, and then the hero returns home. And what that would be societally is we're going to see some form of collapse occur, and there's going to be this crazy chaos period that is that's the point of the death within the hero's journey, and then it forms into a high complex system. So we actually go from what we're living in now to more freedom, more morality, and yeah, like back to the earth. And this was the key takeaway that I got from Cindy's talk, and this is what I said with the Sky Earth conference, that what I really wanted to get out of it, and even moving forward, is to simplify the profound. And we look into a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what Cindy and what she spoke about represented. You look at all these different things, you're trying to understand yourself and your place in the world. You're looking into so many different academic things and studies and all these things, which are all awesome and they're fun, and people should do whatever they want to do. And same with these marches and that. Whatever you feel called to do, if it's coming from this place of here, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the simplicity, the symbiotic nature with us and the earth. Cindy was saying, get back to the mother, listen to the land, listen to the water, listen to the earth, and all the rest of it. It's basically draw all this information in, everything you have been, done, and seen, and bring it all into one point, and understand the simplicity of who you are and your relationship to the planet. And that's it. It's we don't need to know much more, but that has to be felt. That's not an intellectual understanding as much as, and I love going into all the intricacies of all these things, but at the end of the day, the intellectual understanding is just going to bring you back to the intuition of what you already know. But the whole process of just the hero's journey, you're being initiated through the process of learning and the process of experience. And ultimately, the universe itself is an experiential universe. That's how you gain knowledge and understanding. The first step of the hero's journey is the call to adventure. It's not staying home. So the call to adventure is that tiny dot within the spiral. And the first step, when you take that leap out, and with the spiral, there's no way. You got to continue on. It's like the hero's journey. The first step is down. You must continue to go down and come all the way back up. You can't go back the other way. So every model you see, even all the religions, all the tribal stories, it just all leads back to one thing. And it's actually so simple. But, so I see nothing but a positive future. Of course, it's there's going to be struggles and trials and tribulations. We're not through that yet. And I don't think we're going to be through the worst of it for quite a while. But it doesn't matter. It's this is the other thing too. Sydney's how much of this chaos are you seeing in the world? For most of it, it's not that it's not happening, and it's not that you shouldn't attempt to do something about stuff, especially within your immediate surroundings. But at the end of the day, most of it is happening on your screen, but like what's happening in your direct vicinity? And she said, like, listen to the fucking earth and everything else that is like within your immediate vicinity. And like, I'm going to take a big step away too about like, I definitely had this martyr programming and like wanting to save the world. And I can see it really did come from an imbalanced place. It was at a place of fear. It was the driving part of it too, was like, I want to do something. Sorry, I keep running out of data on my phone, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. The other one I saw today was pretty funny. They asked Andrew Dillon from the AFL about like his favorite Snoop Dogg songs, and it's like I think I'll talk about that in the lady video, but yeah, he mentioned a couple of lines from the Snoop Dogg song that were quite clean. I think Snoop's going to give a PG performance at the AFL, but fuck man, there's been some big names come to the MCG in recent years, so like they've upped it with Katy Perry and Snoop Dogg, but I might leave it with a Snoop Dogg outro because he doesn't tend to know some of their better songs, so I'll leave it at that. See yous.
Hey Dills.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I heard that you're a big Snoop Dogg fan.
Yeah, one of the biggest.
So can you finish off some of these lyrics for us?
Oh, I'll do my best.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
It's Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
With so much drama in LBC.
It's kind of hard being D-O-double-G.
And when the pimp's in the crib.
Oh, this one's an easy one. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Can't wait to see Snoop in September.
Yeah, to see you at the MCG last Saturday.
Easy Dick. On them balls, right now something new by Snoop Doggy Dogg. And this one goes out to the ladies from all the guys. A big bow wow wow. Cause we gonna make it a little misty here tonight. This is DJ Easy Dick on the station that slaps you across your fat ass with a fat dick.
When I met you last night, baby, before you opened up your gap, I had a respect for your lady, but now I take it all back, 'cause you gave me all your pussy, and you even licked my balls. Leave your number on the cabinet, and I promise, baby, I'll give you a call. Next time I'm feeling kinda horny, you can come on over and I'll break you off. And if you can't fuck that day, baby, just lay back and open your mouth, 'cause I have never met a girl Well, if corrupt gave a fuck about a bitch, I'd always be broke. I never have no motherfucking endo to smoke. I get sloped and loony. Bitch, you can't do me. Do we look like BBD? You hoochie groupie. I have no love for hoes. That's something that I learned in the pound. So how the fuck am I supposed to pay this hoe? Just the latest hoe. I know the pussy's mine. I'ma fuck a couple more times and then I'm through with it. There's nothing else to do with it. Pass it to the homie, now you hit it. 'Cause she ain't nothing but a bitch to me. And y'all know that bitches ain't shit to me. I gives a fuck. Why don't y'all pay attention? Approach her with a different proposition. I'm corrupt, ho. You'll never be my only one. Trick ass bitch. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none.
Guess who's back in the motherfucking house with a fat dick for your motherfucking mouth? Hoes recognize, niggas do too. 'Cause when bitches get scandalous and pull a voodoo, what you gon' do? You really don't know. So I'd advise you not to trust that hoe. Silly of me to fall in love with a bitch, knowing damn well I'm too caught up with my grip. Now as the sun rotates and my game grows bigger, how many bitches wanna fuck this nigga named Snoop Doggy? I'm all the above. I'm too swift on my toes to get caught up with you hoes. But see, it ain't no fun if my homies can't get a taste of it, 'cause you know I don't love it. Woo! Hey, now you know, inhale, exhale with my flow. 1 for the money, 2 for the bitches, 3 to get ready, and 4 to hit the switches in my Chevy. 6 for red to be exact, with bitches on my side and bitches on my back. So back up, bitch, because I'm struggling. Just get on your knees and then start juggling these motherfucking nuts in your mouth. It's me, Warren G, the nigga with the clout. Woo!